I like to say that Rensselaer County has something for everyone. Whether you like the urban lifestyle of the cities of Troy and Rensselaer, and they're both very much making comebacks. They're taking great advantage of their waterfront on the Hudson River to develop and attract businesses, attract families, attract entertainment venues. Beyond that, we have the suburban ring, if you will, where we have some wonderful towns that offer great amenities to families and wonderful school districts, really outstanding school districts. And then on the eastern border, if you will, we have our very rural towns, which also are great places for families, great places for businesses, but also great places to recreate. And so we have a lot of outdoor activities, particularly in that portion of the county, that allow for great fun really all year round.
Well, that area of the county is more rural, and it's the agriculture part of it. How are the farmers in Rensselaer County doing these days?
You know, the farmers are doing pretty well, and it's not an easy business, as you might imagine. When you're dependent on Mother Nature to supply good weather, a too hot summer or a too rainy summer can really spoil your livelihood for the year. But our farmers work very hard, and we work very hard in the county government to help support them. One of the programs that we've done is protection of development rights under our Farmland Protection Plan. And we work with the state and federal government and private funding to protect these farms, particularly those that are that have great soils, that are very active in production, so that the farmers can take a little bit of money from this program and either invest back in the farm, pay off some of their loans, get caught up, or some of the older farmers, they have that to retire on then and let the next generation or a young family farm start up on that very location. So we work very hard to preserve our farms, and we've got about 3,700 acres now protected under that program.
Well, that's great.
So it is.
One thing, we broadcast every year from the Schaghticoke Fair, which you're a part of, and you can see that esprit de corps on the part of Rensselaer County farmers, and actually the whole community of Rensselaer County supporting the farmers. It comes right through.
And it's very important to do that because, you know, we all love to take a drive in the country and enjoy the beautiful views. Well, we have those beautiful views because that land is in farm, and because of that, the land is protected, the environment is protected. We also have very good local food supply, which is tremendously important. When you talk about food security, that's a big issue. When you talk about the cost of your food, to have it delivered from outside the area would only add more cost to your grocery bill at the end of the week. But supporting our farmers, matching the farmers with the consumers at our farmers markets, at the farm stands, all of that makes for such good synergy and really does allow those of us that live in the city to show our appreciation for our farmers and for all that they do for us. In the
western part of the county, you were talking about what's going on the Hudson River, and there's economic development there, both in the city of Rensselaer, and I guess there's going to be some things starting in South Troy right now. I want to talk about that a little.
Yeah, we have a number of projects going on in the southern end of the county, just below the city of Rensselaer. There was a plant years ago, closed up, the Fort Orange Paper Company, about 15 years ago. And unfortunately, not only did they close up and leave the buildings abandoned, but there was also some environmental damage there. We had asbestos, we have some issues with what's in the ground, etc. So we've been working very hard over that time to try and get somebody to come in there, and it needed some cleanup. The EPA was good enough to come in 7 or 8 years ago and do some preliminary cleanup, but it needs more, and we finally found a company that finds that location ideal. It's in an industrial area, it's accessible by rail, by water, by highway, and they're going to come in, they're going to finish the cleanup on it and put up a paper manufacturing plant from recycled materials, and create 70 or 80 jobs, get that property back on the tax roll, get it cleaned up. So we're very, very excited about that.
When do you expect them to be back in business?
Well, they are putting their financing package together and hope to get underway sometime this year. with the intention of being up and running the end of 2015 or sometime in 2016. So.
Now, up the river way by the just above the not the Dunmore Bridge, the Troy Manans Bridge, you've got some activities going on there as well, right?
Yeah, in the South Troy waterfront, the city of Troy is working on attracting some additional companies there, and we're excited about that as well. The South Troy Industrial Park has been around for probably 20 or 25 years now,
right.
But there was some additional contamination on some of the acres there, as there is in a lot of the old industrial sites in the Great Northeast, but that's been cleaned up again with the help of the state, and now the city is able to attract some businesses in there. What's long been talked about and is now being talked about again with the city is the Industrial Park Road, which hopefully will take some traffic out of the residential areas in South Troy so that they can enjoy a little less bumpy traffic out in front, and the city can benefit from attracting more industry in that area, and that'll be helpful to the tax base, certainly.
One of the things you expressed concern about to me the other day is whether you're the mayor of Hoosick Falls, mayor of Rensselaer, mayor of Troy, or Rensselaer County Executive. You guys are stuck with these mandates from New York State. Want to talk about that?
Yes.
And your frown. You don't have to talk anymore. Your frown.
Yes. Well, your hands get tied a lot at the local level because of the bills that you have to pay on behalf of the state. In Rensselaer County, and we're not unique in this position in New York State, in all of the counties really in New York State, so much of what we raise in property tax and sales tax, in hotel motel tax, has to be used to pay for programs that are mandated by the state. And in a lot of other states, that is not the case. So Medicaid, for instance, is the 800-pound gorilla, so to speak, when it comes to mandates. Most states do not require local governments to use any of their taxes to pay for that. Here in New York State, the local share is about over $7 billion now annually. The next closest state that has a local share, by the way, is California, and there it's $1 billion annually. But what that translates into for us in Rensselaer County is $34 million annually that has to come out of our pockets at the local level to pay for our share of the Medicaid program. And what that means is that that's money that's not available for other services, but more importantly, it's money that we're taking out of the taxpayers' pockets that drive up the property tax bill and make us not very competitive from a property tax basis with other states. So as we're trying to attract businesses into the state and we're trying to attract families into the state or keep our young people here as they get out of college, they're looking at property taxes in New York State that are 80% higher than the national average. So it's very difficult to provide services at the local level, and it's also very difficult to do economic development when 90 cents of every dollar we collect locally goes to pay for the state's bills.
I don't want to put you on the spot here, but a lot of people are saying that New York State voters are voting with their feet.
Yes.
And they're leaving the state to go to other parts of the country. And you hear leadership in the state for years address that and saying they're aware of it, but they don't seem to be doing anything about it. And what you've just indicated is they're not.
Well, I wouldn't say they're not doing anything. There have been some steps taken in terms of Medicaid. Again, about 10 years ago, we got a partial cap on it where it wouldn't increase any more than 3% per year. And more recently, the legislature enacted legislation such that it would gradually get down to a frozen level. So it was 3% the first year, 2% the next year, 1% increase this year. So I'm hopeful that that will at least be a capped factor going forward. And that helps us to maintain property taxes. But when you're 80% higher than the national average, when you're higher than every other state you're competing with for families and businesses, it's not enough just to cap them. We really need to take steps to bring the property taxes down. The other point of all of this, too, is when there are multiple levels of government paying for a program, there's no one person looking at the entirety of the program and saying, wow, we're charging our taxpayers a lot. Because whether it's coming out of my state tax packet or my local tax packet or my federal tax packet, you know, it's the same pair of pants here that I'm wearing. And our argument from the local level is if the state was required to pay for what the federal government considers the state's share of the program, if they had to pay for that in full, then they would make wiser choices about what we can and can't do through the Medicaid program, because it is the most expensive Medicaid program in the country, no matter how you measure it, on a per capita basis, on a per recipient basis. It is higher than what Medicaid costs the state of Texas and Florida combined. So we have a very grandiose Medicaid program, and I think if the state was responsible for all of the bills rather than sharing them with the counties, I think they would take a different look at the program.